So, Felix,
Yes,
it's the morning after the night before.
that's right.
So you had a little glimpse into a past life yesterday. You told me earlier, and you weren't sure how to decipher what happened. Do you just want to tell what you actually saw? What happened? There were doors, and what happened?
So the doors all look the same. So I didn't know where to choose, but I chose the number 3 because that number comes up a lot in my life. And then I went through the door and there was nothing. And then all of a sudden, I just got a glimpse of people in front of me. They were facing me, people in front of me shoveling hay. And then that was it. So I didn't, I recognized the person in front of me. He's Lewis Hamilton, Sir Lewis Hamilton. He's a F1 racing driver, and he's just had such a beautiful life where he's always helping other people and have a lot to give. So I recognized him, but he looked down. He was concentrating on what he was doing. And that is all that I saw. So after last night, then I thought, now, what did I learn? What was that flash about? I couldn't make out anything stand out for me. But then, of course, when you start speaking to somebody that, like you, that knows what you're looking for, then only did I realize what it all came down to, what it meant.
So let's backtrack a little bit, because this morning when you told me the scene and you said these forks that they used to, you call it shoveling the hay,
yes,
onto piles, that's what you told me, right? And there were a couple of those people doing that, and part of them was this Louis, what is his name?
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton, yeah. Okay.
So there were 2 people that I can see. He was in front and there was a woman diagonally behind him. I was aware there were more people, but my focus only caught those 2 people.
Yeah. And you see, what you've experienced is actually quite typically what can happen when we get into a past life. We just get a glimpse.
Yeah.
And then we sit there and say, what must I do with this now?
Yeah.
And the most important question is first and foremost, what are your feelings? How did you feel when you were standing there? How did you feel towards Louis? How did you feel towards the other person? How did you feel about the hay being put into heaps? What emotional sensations did you experience?
For me, it was more an awareness. There wasn't much feeling because I was trying to figure out, who am I? What am I? I couldn't see anything of me. It was just me and them. But the feeling was, I can't actually say there was any definite feeling. It was more observing what they are doing, putting hay together and not recognizing me or me looking at them. So that is all I could take out of that I saw.
Okay, so when we don't have a really prominent feeling like fear or anxiety or love or whatever else, jealousy or anger, then of course we need to start kind of deciphering, is this now a metaphor? Because in a way you had a first-class experience because you were looking through your own eyes in that life.
Yeah.
You didn't see it as a, you looking into the scene and seeing yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say necessarily that makes it more real, but in a way it feels more real because you're looking through your own eyes and you're seeing this and you're observing this. So now let's look at it's similar to a dream, actually, if you think about
exactly.
it.
You wake up and you don't know now what does that mean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how we translate it can be quite similar. First, we're looking for feelings, and then we start deciphering. So what I said to you earlier on was when people put that hay together, that seems to be the last in the production line of working the land.
Yeah.
Right? You sow, and then whatever harvest is there, and then the last thing you do is you collect that hay.
Yeah.
And you said to me, you would assume that that was collected to be fodder for the animals, and so it's harvesting time. Therefore, it's the season. The season for planting is over. It's kind of, and that came to my mind, but you need to say whether that resonates with you. It's kind of reaping what you sowed.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I said that, and you said, "Oh, that resonates with me," what actually resonates? What of that sentence and that experience? And Louis, did you ever meet Louis?
No.
You just liked him?
Yes.
Okay. So that sentence and the impression that you had, what does this now mean to you?
You reap what you sow. For me, it was, I didn't take it immediately to my own life. I was just there looking at and realizing that this is a end cycle of planting and reaping and having the fodder that they will save for a rainy day or when they will need it longer. So that is all that I took out of that at that time. I didn't go any further, only when I discussed it with you, the one thing leads to another, and it like opens up.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So what did it open up into for you now that you thought about it a bit?
For me, that it was with being married and having so many things happen in my life that at that moment that I was very unhappy, but I didn't have the strength to step out of that. So when I look back, then there were a lot of times when I was probably shielding my children from seeing what was going on. Yeah.
You see how this brings up, and you can see that there sits something inside of you, a trauma or something that you haven't dealt with.
No, I haven't. I don't know how to get there.
Yeah. But isn't this amazing? I mean, this is so. It is amazing that you can dip into a past life because you haven't indulged at why you like this Lewis F Formula One driver so much, and how it reminded you of your marriage where you didn't have the strength at the time to end it at the time, and you think now you should have ended it and protecting your children. But look how that glimpse comes back to you and says, "Darling Felix, this is what you need to clear up."
Yes, I know.
Yeah. And look how strong the emotions are. What was it about this Formula One driver that you liked so much?
He was the best in his field, and he was a black guy, and he had a lot of racial issues. He's the only black guy in the F1 racing stable or in the last few years, and him telling that is probably where the children comes into the thing, that he told how his father had to do 3 jobs to have money for him to race. And he said all the stuff that they went through, that they were shunned by the other people. When his father asked advice or something about something, they were like given the cold shoulder, so they weren't drawn in. And he never, if you look at him, there was no animosity or anything coming up, but he does so much charity and things, for people disadvantaged and more things like that he does. We're not supposed to let me cry.
That's okay. That's so human. That makes it so real. Thank you. Now, is that a character trait that you just described in Louis? that you also have? I mean, you work for a charity organization now. You give your time, you like to help other people. So how does this character of Louis, who actually really exists, and he shouldn't have been in a past life, because that past life was a long time ago. You
Yeah.
said those folks were all
Yes,
from
it
wood.
was, yeah, it was many, many, many hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it was the first feeling that I got. It was like it's really way, way, way back that it was, because the forks that they were the wooden ones. They weren't even wooden forks that with the three prong. So
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
that immediately made me realize how long ago this scene was, and also the way the woman was dressed, you know, with the apron and a scarf and a thing like that.
Okay, so it seems unusual that Louis would be in that scene.
Yes, exactly. This modern guy, you know?
Yeah. So is there anything that you, okay, so we've got harvesting time, we've got sowing, reaping what you sow. You've got this guy that was helped by his family to fulfill his, let's say, purpose or dream of being a Formula One driver, and he was a very good one. And now he stands there and he is there, and he's also shoveling. He's also reaping what he sowed.
Yeah.
Okay, so now if whatever speaks to you, your higher self or whatever, what do you think they're saying to you with giving you these impressions?
About shoveling the hay and collecting?
Yeah, for example.
It comes down to it, maybe because of my age. You know, I'm at the end, well, not at the end, but I mean, I'm towards the end. And your life is different, you know, you're not going out for a career or looking after children and stuff like that. So reaping what you'd sow will probably be very strong now for me to reap what I sowed. Yeah. So that is what the image and the feeling I got.
Yeah, and the emotions that you now got when you thought back about the hardship of not standing up for yourself because you wanted to protect your children. If you could have acted differently, what would you have done?
If I know what I know now, if I was that age, then I would have had the strength to speak up, you know, and perhaps end the marriage, or so it will just give me more power to speak from where I am now.
Okay. And do you feel you have that power now?
Yes, I've learned a lot. I've gained a lot, and I can say things without worrying about, you know, always worrying about other people's feelings. So.
Yeah. And the other correlation that I detect, it's my imagination, not yours, is that Louis also went through a hard life. He had a hard life. And you still said he was the best, one of the best in his trade. So he always did his best despite having it quite hard. Is that not also true for you?
That is, I think that is what I would have liked to do, you know, to concentrate on what's going on in my life and be the best that I can be in that situation. Even although a lot of things wasn't working out. Yeah.
Well, now, just because you are here and you are feeling the way you do, this is something maybe beyond the scope one can do for oneself. But that version of you that hadn't the strength, wasn't strong enough at the time to do what you now think could have been done or should have been done.
Yeah.
How do you look at her, that younger version of you? What feelings do you have towards her?
Well, I really at that stage, there wasn't so many classes and things like we have today, where you where you go to your inner strength. I didn't have that. Yeah, so I think that is what I would say, you know.
Yeah. So do you think that this younger version of you needs acknowledgement and needs to hear you've done the best you could?
Yes, yes.
So
Definitely.
and if you say that to yourself, and I mean, this is not going to happen in a flash, but if you keep connecting with her, and you keep on telling her that, because there's another level to all of that, because you might have brought in some karmic connections to have exactly that kind of relationship and exactly the lack of strength, so that you could learn it.
Yes, exactly.
Isn't it
I
true?
believe that.
Yeah.
I totally believe it. They say a guru is not only a good person, it's also that person that comes into your life that makes you grow.
Yeah.
That makes you
Exactly.
change and take your life
exactly.
take control of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you could have a magic wand and you could change, because at the moment when you look back on that you and the time, tears come up and you feel quite emotional about it, understandably. And if you had a magic wand and all that would be healed, how would you like to look back at that you?
Well, definitely have more assertiveness, really, and set more boundaries, you know, and just demand more. I don't want to say respect, but demand more. So what happens gets shared, you know, in the house and things like that. Really not being ignored or overlooked or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's another correlation with Lewis, isn't there?
Yeah,
because
he just kept his head down and he just did what he had to do. Yeah.
Despite not having an easy start.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think you have what it takes to heal your own inner relationship with that married you from then? What does this woman need? Does she need compassion?
Yes.
Does she need understanding? Does she need a hug?
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think, because you're very wise, you have a lot of tools in your toolbox, do you think you can take time, as long as it takes, to imagine her and speak with her and give that to her so that she can hear?
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
Like that inner child. The same way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, she is much younger than you, isn't she?
Yes.
So in a way, she is an inner child, you know.
Yeah.
She's a younger version than you. Okay. And maybe lastly, look where that glimpse of first nothing, and then some old ancient folks reaping the hay, and Lewis, whoever he is there, doesn't belong there, but has a story to tell. And your story comes up because whoever pulls the, how do you say, the strings is actually saying, Felix, this is what you need to hear.
Yes.
This is the next layer that needs to come off.
Quite true.
No? Isn't it just like that? And you say you think you have the tools to have the compassion and the kindness, because you could also be angry with her for being weak, for not having the strength.
I didn't have it. Otherwise, I would
Exactly.
have. Yeah.
I just wonder what else, in closing, you would like to have to say to this, now binding it together, going through the doors, having the very short glimpse, and now unpacking this all, knowing what you need to do to heal. And so how do you wrap this up now, for now?
Well, you know, it always helps to have a friend that's a very good therapist. And there's always help at hand. Now, for me, just understanding where this comes from is so good. You know.
God, thank you so much.